JavaScript is the programming language of HTML and the web, and it is used to add interactive content within your website. The way we add JavaScript code on HTML is through what we call the script tag, and the script tag has the opening and the closing tags. And an example is given here, which is a document.getElement by ID. And the ID here is demo. Then we have inner HTML, which is assigned to the value of my first JavaScript. So clicking on try it yourself, we have a script code, which is added here. This script is the JavaScript code, which has been added now on this HTML document. So we have a p tag, and this p tag does not contain any content for now, but it is given an ID demo. Now, when you load this web page, the script is the one that is going to run, and it is going to assign the content, my first JavaScript, to the ID demo. So we have a method which is being used here, which is the document.getElement by ID. And you can see the ID given there is demo dot inner HTML. This inner HTML method sets or returns the HTML content of an element. So the work of this inner.html is either going to get the content or set the content of this element. So the particular element we are talking about in this case is the p tag. And that's why you can see on my right, instead of having an empty p tag, we have the content already being displayed there, which is my first JavaScript. So already this content is set using the JavaScript code. We have JavaScript functions and events. A JavaScript function is a block of JavaScript code, and that can be executed when it is called. A function will be called by an event. So whenever an event occurs, such as a click of a button, then we are going to have that particular function which we have declared or we have defined within JavaScript code being executed. So the way to put code within, to place JavaScript code within HTML document is that you can place it within the body or within the head section of the HTML page. And there is also a possibility of placing it in both sections. This is the head section, and it has this code, which is the function defined here called my function, and it has the document.getElement by ID dot inner HTML, and it has it assigned a content which is paragraph changed. And the paragraph here already has some content on it, which is a paragraph, and we have a button which is calling this function. So the button in the body section, when clicked, is going to call the function which is defined within the header section. Let me try it here. So you can see the code on my left and on my right. The paragraph here is containing the content, a paragraph. When I click on try it, then that content is changed to paragraph changed. So that working is what is being done now by this button, which has the value of try it. So this is a combination of a function and click event. So the function here, which is defined within the head section by this script, is my function. And when we have this button clicked, we can see the function is called my function. And when this my function is called, it executes the code, which is to get element by ID. This element that we get is the demo, and we are getting it from the HTML document, which is this. And when we get that ID, what we are saying is through the method inner HTML, we change the content. So the content was previously a paragraph, we change it to paragraph change. The other way to place JavaScript code is through the body. And here is an example that is given, the same example, only that now instead of the code residing within the head section, it is within the body section. The best rule is to place the script at the bottom of the body element, and this improves the speed in which your document is going to be displayed. And the reason is that the script interpretation might slow down the display of your document. The way we output JavaScript, we have different ways to display that. One is writing into an HTML element, and this is the one we were using in a HTML method. The other way is to use document.write. So when you use document.write, this one you write the output within the HTML itself. So you're not writing into HTML element, but onto HTML document. You can also use alert box. So the alert box is a pop-up window, and the method used for that is window.alert. Then you can also write on console, and this one you use console.log. Document.write, we've said, is going to write directly into the HTML document, so you don't need to have defined any element. So an example here is you can see the code on this side and also the document on the right side. So we have all the paragraphs which are given there, and you can see now the content and how we are displaying. So we are not getting any HTML element, but directly we are writing on that HTML document with the JavaScript. When you use the document.write after an HTML document is loaded, it is going to delete whatever was existing, because the understanding is that it is changing the whole of that HTML document. An example is given here. We have the page, the H2 is defined, the P tag is also defined, and we have a button here that when we click, we call the document.write to give the value here for 5 plus 6. Now, if I click this write button, you can see everything else disappears. That is the first, the heading 2 and also the paragraph, they disappear. And what we have now is the just the code, which is the 5 plus 6 in this case, because the document.write has reloaded the whole of that HTML document. Window alert uses an alert box to display the data, and an example is given here. You can see now, when I load this, it's showing an embedded page. On this page says 11. So this is the value that is being now displayed on that page that we are running here. So the pop-up window you've seen, or that alert you've seen, was coming up because of this. The other way to display an JavaScript output is to use console.log. And this one mainly is used when you're debugging your code. The direction that you're given here, that you need to click on F12 on your keyboard, so that it activates the debugging debugging console down here. I want you guys to check on the console here, which is given below here. Or actually, I can even show it here. You can see the values I want to check is this, that there's an 11 here, and another one because of the 2 times I have tried to click on the run here. JavaScript has a set of rules on how the program is going to be constructed. We have said that JavaScript is a block of code that you can use, in this case, to describe interactive content on your web. So we have the way we declare variables is something like this. So here you are declaring some variables, then you're doing some assignment on those variables, and you're doing some computations on the variables. JavaScript values is going to be defined by either what we call fixed values and variable values. So fixed values are called literals, whereas the values, we are going to be calling them variables. So the literals in this case of the fixed values, they are given like this, and in many cases they are just numbers, which can be with or without the decimals. We also have strings, which are given like this. So a string can be a text, which is written within either double or single quotes. So something like this. We use the keyword var, like it's given here, so that we can declare now these variables. Then we use an equal sign to assign values to these variables. So an example here is var. We are defining a variable called x, and then we are storing a value of 6 to 8. Now, when we assign this, then it means for now, this could be taken to be either something like whole number, a literal number, which is a number. At the same time, it could mean that this is something which is a string. So variables can contain any of the other literals that had been previously defined. Comments are added using double forward slash as it is given there. We have the multi-line comments, which are given in this syntax. So it has the opening forward slash and asterisk, then a closing asterisk and another forward slash. Variables will either be fixed or they are going to be literals. So the literals, we have said, they are things like strings or numbers which can be easily defined. But now the variables we are looking at here are the ones that you can declare so that they can store data values. All JavaScript variables but must be identified with unique names. It should contain, names can contain letters or digits or an underscore or a dollar sign. The names must begin with a letter. Then the names can also begin with a dollar sign, or they can start with an underscore. The names are case sensitive. So if you have a variable that you have called y and another one you have called capital Y, those are going to be taken as different variables. Assignment operator is given by an equal sign, and this does not mean equal to, but it means an assignment. So it is different from algebra, the one that we use there. So x is assigned x plus 5. So this means that whatever the value of x will be, the x on the left will be assigned the value of x on the right plus 5. So you need to differentiate between that. And if you want to define the equal sign for which is now an algebra kind of arithmetic, then we use two double equal signs as shown in this line here. We have several operators that are applied on variables. One of them is the assignment operator, which is used to assign a value to a variable. An example here is var x is assigned 10. So we are declaring a variable x, and then we are assigning a value of 10 to 8. We have addition operator, which is used to add numbers, which is an example is given here. So it is taking x plus y. X has already been defined as 5, and y has been defined as 2. So the x plus y in this case will give us a value of 7. We have multiplication operator, which multiplies numbers. So this is the same as the algebra. Also, so the other arithmetic operators that you're going to find here, we have addition, we have subtraction, we have multiplication, we have exponential, we have division, we have modulus, we also have increment and decrement. We have an example of an assignment here, the variable x is assigned 10, then you're told that now x plus is assigned 5. So this is an example of an assignment operator, but it has a plus before the assignment operator. So the value for this, you can see on the other side is 15. The reason is that this x plus is assigned 5 is the same as saying x is assigned x plus 5. So that way you're getting the value being 15 here. When you're dealing with the strings, when you have an addition operator, then what it does is to concatenate strings. So when you have a var which is text1, which is John, and a var text2, which is Do, then you have the text3, which is given as text1 plus then a space here, and then text2, the result is going to be John Doe. JavaScript variables can hold different data types. One of them will be a number. It can be a string. It can also be an object. So the objects in many cases will either be what we call arrays. It can also be just an object itself. So an example here is this, which is a number. We can also have a string. So a number is just given like a whole value, like it is shown here. A string is given using either this double quotes or a single quote can also be used. Then an object is defined like this one. It is contained within these curly braces, and within it you can now define variable pairs. So, and this is the concept I was trying to show you. An example here of the data types. Like you can see here, we have a variable which has been defined here with the 16 plus Volvo, which is a string. And in this case, when you add this kind of thing, you're going to get 16 Volvo, which is going to be also different when you have Volvo plus 16, because it's also going to give a different value. As you can see here, this is an example that I was trying to show you, and you can see how the values are going to be defined. We have examples of strings here. As we said, strings can be defined using either a single quote or a double quote. So this is an example of a string given there. Then we have numbers. Numbers are just given as decimal with decimal points, or they can be written without decimal points. And these are the examples, something like 34 or something like 34.00. It could also be something like 34.5. The Boolean values have either true or false. So a true or false is the value that is used. Array uses, they are written within square brackets, and the values or the items within that array are separated by commas. And an example is given here. So we have the name, the code to declare array here is that we have cars, and it has the different values. So it is within the square brackets. It has the first item is sub, then Volvo, then BMW. So this is an array called cars, and it containing 3 items or 3 car names. Objects are written with curly braces. So an example is here. And the way objects are declared, unlike arrays which are square brackets and then they have just the name of the items, objects have what we call name value pairs, which are separated by commas. So we have an example here of a person. Then we have the curly braces, and then we have the value, the name value pair. So the first one is a name, and that name is John. Then we have the last name, which is Doe. So this is an example of a name value pair and another name value pair, giving all the values for that particular person. We have a person who has been defined as having this kind of name value pairs. So the script here is showing on the paragraph that. So we are using the inner HTML. So document.getElement by ID, inner HTML. And what we have in here is the person.firstName. So we are referencing the person here. And then we are getting the first name of that person is person.age. So this is the way you access the values within an object. So the person, which is the name of the object, dot the name that you want to get, so that by that you can access the value. And that way you can see on this side what we have is John. Functions. A JavaScript function is a block of code which is defined to perform a particular task. An example here, we have a function that is taking two arguments, a P1 and a P2. And what this function is doing is returning the product of P1 and P2. So this is an example. So the way we write a function, or the syntax for a function, is a name, and the name is followed by, the name of that function is followed by parentheses, these brackets, and within it you can have parameters. So parameters are optional. There are times that you might have parameters, or sometimes you might not have the parameters. And then after that, you have the curly braces. So within the curly braces, that is where you indicate the code you want to be executed. So this is the declaration for a function. So you have the keyword function followed by the name of the function. Then you have the parameters, which I've said can be optional. And then in between, you write the code that you want to be executed. Then we have the way to invoke a function. So the way you invoke a function is when an event occurs. So an example would be when you click a button. Also, we can invoke a function when it is called within the JavaScript code, or at the same time, a function can also be invoked automatically, which means it is self-invoking. Then something else to note is the function return. So when we have a return statement within the function, then that the execution of that function stops, and that computed value is going to be returned to the function or the item that was calling it. We have an example here. This my function is taking two variables, which is A and B. And what it does is to return A multiplied by B. And this function is being called here. So you can see the declaration here. We have a variable X, and it is calling the function. It is calling my function, and it is setting the value 4 and 3. So where we have this paragraph, which we are assigning now the value through this method inner HTML, it's going to be assigned X. And the value of X is going to be given by 4 times 3. That one I can tell because it is given here that this function is returning the value of A multiplied by B.